Good morning, Lincoln, Nebraska. Welcome to a Tuesday on the morning hookup. I am Elijah Herbal, joined here in studio by Hugh Malone, as we're supposed to have one Caleb Wisey morning. He's sick. Got the confirmation on the fever and the companies. He's out for today.
Yeah, he sent me a text, and of course, I hope Wisey gets better because I think we've all had our turn here the last few months, whatever, kind of getting the variant of whatever may be going around. Which is funny because someone always says, something's going around. Have you ever heard anybody get sick and wow, that's weird? Nothing's going around. Something's always going around. But anyway, so yeah, Wisey said that he started feeling not so well about 2 this morning, and of course, and I was, joking. I love coming in. I said, well, that was about an hour before I got off of work this morning. So, yes, phone rang about 8 o'clock, and Moats is like, well, I know you had to work last night. I'm like, yeah, I'll come in. I'll come in. Oh, you don't have to. I said, well, number one, I love doing this, because for those that don't know, I'm a railroader by day. Unfortunately, it was last night. And I'm like, we can't have Elijah come in and do the show by himself. They'll have to probably get something syndicated. It could be like color by number or something like that. I'm like, no, we're gonna come in. We're gonna talk some sports this morning. So here I am.
Appreciate you coming in.
I'm still waiting for the bushy tail to go along with the bright eyes this morning.
Well, if there is one thing, you're 2 punches away on the old morning hookup punch card from your next Slim Chickens gift card.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Hey, I think I somehow the last 2 must have gotten misplaced in the room in there. So we'll have to look in. We're looking into that.
Well, Steve, long weekend for us here at the morning hookup.
Yes.
President's Day yesterday. So we have a lot to get into with a Husker basketball game on Saturday. Now we also get to preview a game against Iowa coming up tonight. So we have plenty of Husker basketball thoughts coming your way. We'll have some Husker baseball thoughts there through opening weekend.
And softball.
I did not get called while I'm on the air.
That was one of the first things I did when I walked in here too, because the phone. Maybe talk a little bit of softball as well.
Yeah,
huge weekend for them. Doing something.
Take down number 1 Texas
again.
Tech. Yes.
Our number 1 ranked team again. Mm-hmm. which was neat. So,
and then we also have an interesting. How do I put this? Maybe development with the NBA potentially changing up their draft system as a whole. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. I know that was kind of coming around last Friday and Saturday was kind of when that was in the news cycle. Okay. I'll be curious to get you because you're more of an old timey NBA guy.
I am.
Your thoughts on potentially getting rid of the lottery or getting rid of the draft altogether?
Wow. If they want to get rid of something, they can just get rid of the All-Star game.
That'd be the first place to start.
Well, which was kind of neat, and because we did have the NBA All-Star game, which I'll leave that up to you on how much you want to touch about that, circus show. We were able to have some former Huskers back this Saturday too, with the game that they played at PBA. Some folks, maybe at different levels in their professional careers. So it was nice to catch up with a few of them. We can talk about that.
I don't want to forget, we also have Robin Washit coming your way here in hour 1. That's coming in about 15 minutes. And we'll have Brian Munson, both of those guys from HuskerOnline.com. Yes. B joins us in hour 2.
Awesome. That's great. So what do you want to hit first?
I think I'm going to hit Husker baseball.
You hit Husker baseball.
I do want to hit because you had
we're cloud 9 until the first inning of yesterday's game.
Yeah, and I'm putting yesterday's game slightly to the side.
Okay,
and I'll tell you why.
All right,
not to completely skip over an entire first weekend, because the 3-0 start, pitching looked great, hitting. I mean, timely hits, guys with mature at bats, 2-out hitting. Why I'm putting yesterday to the side? You didn't have one of your weekend guys this weekend. Another guy under the weather, Katsky.
Now did he transfer in?
Yeah, Miami of Ohio.
And he was
their pitcher of the year last year.
Yeah, he was like the conference
pitcher of the year. They're, from what I understand, they really like how he stepped in. He kind of hit the ground running. They think he is going to be a good piece, and there's a reason they have him penciled in as a Sunday starter this year. So considering he first got moved back to Monday, and then Monday became a bit of a bullpen game, whenever you've already played a 3-game series, now you're on the back end, I'm putting it to the side. And to add to that, Nebraska's offense also put up 6 runs. And 6 runs across an entire season is going to be enough to win a good number of games,
especially in conference.
Exactly. I am not going to sit here and complain about the new. Hey, Stanford's a team that's been playing in plenty of College World Series. I'm not sure what type of squad they have this year. They have a history of being pretty good at baseball. If there's great talent in the California area, you were down to the back end of your bullpen, make it through a bullpen game. And yeah, those guys got shelled, especially early in the season. There's a few performances on the bump that you liked. Who came in and pitched 3 innings? Looked good.
I thought, basically the starters from the first 3 games, Ty Horn did great.
Yeah.
Yasa came.
He actually had some control of his fastball and his breaking ball
looked sharp. It was funny, before I forget this. And bless their hearts, I'm glad it was on. The games you could, they were being streamed by MLB.com, and you could watch that. And of course, I would cast it. They even had announcers for that, but it was like watching Game Changer because they had 2 camera views. And they talked about Yasa's father, how he played for Wesleyan, and the announcer come on. Yeah, Nebraska Wesleyan. It's on the outskirts of Lincoln. It's probably a good 30-minute drive to the Nebraska UNL campus. I'm like, I don't know which way you take, buddy, or where you think that school's at, but it was fun. So you did get an opportunity to watch these games too, which was nice because there were a lot of newcomers. I wanted to see how they looked. Cole Kitchens, stepping at the DH.
Weekend.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I think kind of cooled off a little bit, but the first is like out of his first maybe 10 plate appearances. Looks like he might nestle into that DH role really, really well. You knew what you had in some of these players, but some of the guys kind of switching positions. Nunez played a lot of second base last year. Now moving him into the outfield. Then of course, who's the Jet kid? Jet Buck. You just a little guy though, but you see that he hit 21 bombs last year. I'm like, wow, I'm excited for that. So I think offensively the pieces are going to be there, and he can. But what was really, and bless his heart that he was ready to take the younger Worthley kid, who's a true freshman. Yes, just got we just got done calling his games over at Lincoln East. So you're catching opening day and batting leadoff. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've seen a catcher bat leadoff since maybe who Rodriguez or I don't know. We'd have to look into that. You don't see many catchers, but of course he's not built like a normal catcher. That the kid can run. So.
I do know, and to your point, he's not a big power guy. He's been throughout his high school career a 350 plus average guy. I know his junior he hit 400 plus, and he got 20 plus steals in every year of his high school career. That says something about your catcher. It also says something. First true freshman catcher to start opening day, dating back to the year 2000 for Husker baseball.
Oh goodness, who would that be? Jeff Christie?
I don't know who the other one was, honestly.
Oh,
I just shut it back to 2000.
To 2000. I'm trying to think of who that would be. Would have been Jeff Christie?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll have an answer for that. So
I'd like to think so. I just going back in the stats all the way to 2000 is as far back as I got before I went. Okay, no true freshman.
Good thing we don't go back to when I was. Yeah.
But following opening weekend, so this is not including yesterday. I'm waiting for the updated stats. You had 3 Huskers hitting over 500 heading into yesterday. You had Sanderson at 636, Jeske at 625, Overbeek at 500, Carey at 467, Buck at 462, and Kitchens 357. I mean, that's your top of the order right now. Now, did things change a little bit after yesterday? Yeah, Sanderson went over 3 from the dish. Overbeek went 1 for 5 from the dish. Buck went, Overbeek went 2 for 5. Carey went 2 for 5. Kitchens 1 for 4. Buck 2 for 4.
And I think
some guys that'll keep that.
While it would have been nice to go 4-0 on the weekend. I know that's very hard, and kind of what you alluded to. Stanford, I think they came into the game maybe 1-2, but which was weird that they played yesterday because Stanford was in an entirely different tournament.
Yeah,
but they only had 4 teams in their tournament where we had 7 in our tournament, but yet they still played, which was great because my folks included. There's plenty of Nebraska people that live down there. You could see that if you had a shot of that crowd, the amount of Husker fans that came out. I think our own Bill Hooks even was able to take in maybe it was a Friday game, as I saw a picture on social media. But these games, I know they're very early, and still the coaching staff is kind of looking to see maybe what they have as far as a rotation, what they have in the bullpen, do some tinkering with the lineup. They're bigger than the coaching staff will lead on right now. And the reason is because when you're playing teams like Stanford or Grand Canyon, who's had some success in past years, the RPI that you're going to get from some of these tournaments, and even this next tournament, we'll talk a little bit about that they're going to be playing in with LSU and stuff like that, to go out and be able to get wins in that tournament. Because let's call it how it is. I mean, the Big Ten, we think women's volleyball. We obviously think wrestling, and men's basketball is 4 teams in the top 10 right now. Baseball, it isn't going to happen because it's cold weather. Except for, and the thing that is holding, that helps out the conference though, are teams like UCLA, Oregon, and USC, which, with 17 teams in the Big Ten, you could potentially play 16. You only get 10. I don't think we play UCLA in the regular season.
I was just gonna say there's one team that might be College World Series super regional type worthy this year. I mean, there might be 2 or 3 teams that are regional worthy. But UCLA is there.
UCLA was ranked number 1, for a reason. And I know USC and Oregon were in different polls, just depending on how you look. Nebraska wasn't far off, and they were picked to finish 4th in the conference, but behind those 3 priorly said teams. So these are the opportunities where you need to go down there, and try and scratch out those wins. So when it comes time for the selection to host the regional, that you can look back and say, hey, we have such and such record against teams with this RPI. And I know I'm thinking well in advance, like we're talking about, selection for the College World Series and regionals. But these are the games, that I like thinking about now, because I don't want to be 2 months down the road. Well, gosh, if we could have snuck out one more win down there in Mesa, what would have happened? So it is a good chance to see what you got for a team. But at the same time, you really want to fly out of these gates running and start building that resume right now.
Yeah, it's the schedule ramps up for you, as I think the best way to put it, because you have this opening weekend. UConn was a good opening night test, where I think you should go out and beat UConn. They're going to be a team that is competing in the Big East, but you as a we'll call it right what they are. Nebraska is consistently right now a team that makes regionals. UConn is a team that inconsistently makes regionals.
And the Big East is not a Power 4 conference. Not
a Power 4 conference. That's a team you should go out and beat. I'll say the same about Northeastern,
which is sneaky good.
But you should still be going out there and beating them. Then it ramped up again for Grand Canyon. I think Grand Canyon among your first 3 was probably the best of the 3. We'll see how they're it's based on recent success, I should say.
Exactly. And basically being the home team.
Yeah, we'll see how their season goes. But then you ramp up finally to the last team in Stanford, which I know they come in at 1 and 2, but they have pedigree behind them, and they always have talent on roster. They're always pumping out draft picks as well. Like, that is a good baseball program. You ramped up to that, and then you look ahead this upcoming weekend. 2 top 25 teams.
LSU for sure. And I want to say, is K-State there too?
It's Florida State and Louisville.
Florida State and Louisville. Okay.
Are your 2 top 25 teams? K-State had a good opening weekend.
LSU isn't ranked?
You don't have. They're in the series, but you don't have them on the schedule.
Okay.
So,
gotcha.
They're down there, but they're not on the schedule. And then you follow it up. You hit the road and take on Auburn, who's untested. They're 3-0.
It's an SEC team,
but it's an SEC team,
right?
They went and beat Youngstown State.
Find an SEC team that's bad in baseball, and I'll show you an athletic director on a hot seat.
It should be noted, Auburn's also going to be down in Arlington, and you're also not playing them.
Okay.
They have, get this, Louisville, Florida State, and Kansas State on their schedule. So anyway, there are teams that are going to be in Arlington that you're not playing. Auburn's one of them. I think LSU is one of them.
2 of the best Auburn baseball players in history, Bo Jackson, Frank Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did they play on the same teams?
I don't know that there was a crossover.
There would have been
I know Frank's obviously younger. Bo known for both sports, but Frank Thomas actually was on the football team his freshman year as a tight end until he focused on just baseball. So yeah, everyone likes, Charles Barkley and Cam Newton, but those 2 guys obviously you can't forget about Bo, but don't forget about old Frank Thomas as a dual sport legend at the University of Auburn.
So we'll see that you have opportunities ahead of you to keep on ramping up into the season. And I think, hey, you need to go down there, and if the past couple of years have shown us anything, it's that don't take wins in February to mean Nebraska is going to go make a super regional or college World Series. If you would have overreacted last year when Nebraska beat Vanderbilt, you would have been incredibly disappointed as the season went on. So it's not, these games are not the be all end all, but they do help you come season time if you do want to host a regional later down the road, and also helps ramp you up, get you that higher level of competition that you're just not going to see in the Big Ten.
Well, and to be honest with you, I'm not saying that it's going to shoot it up astronomically, but look at the expectations now with this program. Obviously, you had a certain amount once Will Bolt came back to this program, just playing under Dave Van Horn, and now having won the Big Ten tournament 2 years in a row, especially going out and doing what you did to UCLA, preseason player of the year, still on that team. Gosh, hope he graduates one of these days. So the expectations are there, and the amount of returning upperclassmen that are on this team, when you look at like Overbeek and Dylan Carey, Will Jeske,
Ty Horn,
guys like that, and you've infused some transfers and some young guys. The expectations are to get back there and keep this program moving forward. I like when they're a good spot. Hey, if you still have that schedule pulled up, I know my boy was asking me this. When is our first home game? I know that it can be a toss up, because I remember it seemed like we would always schedule like Northern Colorado, like sometime in early March, and you never knew if it was going to be like a day like it was yesterday outside, or if it would be sleeting sideways.
First home game is probably not as doable. It is 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday, March 4th against South Dakota State.
Okay, so if it's 40 out there, they'll be used to it,
and that's less doable from a fan point of view. The opening series is that following weekend. You have Michigan State at 2 p.m. on Friday.
Oh, conference starts already?
Yeah, the right after you kick off your home series.
Wow,
and then it's your home stand, and then it's Saturday, Michigan State 1 p.m. and then you have the time change. Spring ahead, spring forward. So then you can start.
Are we about done with that?
You spring forward the 7th into the 8th, I believe.
That's when we go to being 2 hours ahead of what it is in Arizona.
And then you get a noon start against Michigan State. And then I think you can actually start getting some evening home games once the clocks change and you get some light going a little further into the evening.
Sounds great. So
that's what you got coming up. But Husker baseball, first 3-0 start to the season since 2005.
Really? And we all know how did 2005 do?
College World Series.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
So
the Fighting Alex Gordons.
Was Java on that team as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we in the super regional down here against Miami.
I've seen the.
It's probably one of the most intense games I've ever sat at down there at Haymarket Park.
Well, we'll see if we get another game like that later this season for Husker baseball. Expectations are rising for that program based on how opening weekend went, but we'll see how they go. A big following weekend. Second weekend of the year, I think it's going to tell us a little bit more about this baseball team. So we'll see what happens down in Arlington.
Robin coming up next?
Yeah, we're going to step aside. When we return, it's Robin Wash at HuskerOnline.com talking some Husker hoops.
Where am I?
Where are you?
Well, at some point in time, for a rejoin today, we'll have to pull out the 1975 Eric Carmen. All by myself. Don't want to be. Either that or Never Gonna Fall in Love Again. Never gonna fall in love again. All right.
I'm familiar, I think.
I'm out. The pregame. Ask Will anything. We're gonna have to. Oh, you know what? I have to carry that segment over to an Ask Elijah anything. Elijah, are you a good cook? Are you?
Yes.
I don't know why they call it hamburger helper, Clark. It sure does okay on its own.
I made some homemade tomato soup with some grilled ham and cheeses last night.
Okay.
Ooh,
yeah,
that was good. Then I watched the movie Warfare. It's not even that new anymore. Watch that.
What is it called?
Warfare. It's an A24 film.
I watched some of those.
It was.
I'm trying to think of what the premise was.
That was the It came out like probably 2 years ago, year and a half ago now. And the premise was it was a mission in Baghdad where it kind of goes awry and they take some casualties, and the whole thing is them trying to get out of this bad situation. It's based on true story. It was the director of the movie. It was his experience in Baghdad.
I want to think that I've seen that.
I'm gonna get Robin on the line here.
Okay.
But no, the tomato soup and grilled ham and cheese, spectacular. Homemade chicken stock, and then you got all the tomatoes together. And
I will eat it, but not a big tomato soup fan.
It's better homemade. Campbell's is bad. The homemade stuff was good.
And I know that's one of those staples that people like to eat together. It's like chili and cinnamon rolls. We got to find out something to go with potato soup and just call it our own.
Welcome back into the morning hookup. Elijah Herbal and Hugh Malone joining me here as Phil Hook makes his way back from Scottsdale, Phoenix.
I think Scottsdale. I would have jumped in there. I know that you were getting our next guest on the line. When I didn't know if that rejoin was rejoin music or you were sampling the song we were going to use. You got to remember, still waking up. Got home about 3 this morning, but always happy to be in here with you. And definitely, when I knew it was a Tuesday, because I know who our radio guests are on Tuesday, I wasn't going to miss it.
So Robin Wash at HuskerOnline.com joining us as we have some basketball thoughts to bring you. A maybe back on track performance from Saturday and a big test tonight against Iowa.
At least in the last 13 minutes, I would say.
Yeah, Robin, how you doing this morning?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Good.
How about this weather we're having, huh?
Take it for February. How about that, huh?
We'll take it.
Well, Robin, one of the things I just said to lead you in with this Husker basketball team, maybe a back on track performance from Saturday. It's kind of depends which half. If you watch the first half and not the second half, you would say there is no chance in hell these guys are back on track. If you watch the second half and not the first half, you would say, yeah, right back to what we expected. They're putting the ball through the hoop. That Northwestern team hung around for about 25 minutes, and then Nebraska goes in a couple of runs late and gets a pretty comfortable victory. Are you feeling after a performance like that this team is back on track after a rough stretch?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to an extent, yeah, they did what they were supposed to do. They, beat Northwestern in a game that final score looks good, but anybody that watched it knows it wasn't pretty. But that's also a Northwestern team that took Michigan all the way down to the wire. So, like, in this point in the season, in this league, you don't apologize for victories. So, it wasn't clearly a thing of beauty by any stretch, especially with the turnovers and sloppy offense you saw through, the better part of the first half of the game. But, Nebraska flipped the switch like they have done all season and found a way to win a conference home game by 19 points. And so, they're on track for now. But as you saw against, Rutgers, everybody said they were back on track against Rutgers, and they went out and played, really poorly in a lot of respects in that Purdue game and dug themselves into a hole that they couldn't overcome. So, it's a good thing that they did what they were supposed to do, but now the challenge is doing it again. They opened as favorites against Iowa. It's kind of a coin flip game, and this is another opportunity for Nebraska to make a statement. If they go and handle business again tonight, then I think that back on track conversation gets a lot more sturdy because obviously the degree of difficulty increases pretty significantly tonight.
Robin, before we get into tonight's matchup, I want to ask you something about Saturday. And before I forget, also too, if anybody gets a chance, I love the little quick podcast that you do after every game. I listen to it after every one. So great job, keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
On Saturday, it's an opportunity, and they call it Legends Weekend. For me, I called alumni. I'm not going to try and guess your age. I know you're probably definitely a lot younger, as most everyone is, than I am. But the opportunity to see some of these guys come back. Obviously, Coach Nee was there. I got to see Jerron Boone probably for the first time since college come back. How long have you been, I know you cover them, but also a Husker fan, and what is it like for you personally to get to see some of those guys come back for Legends Weekend?
Yeah, I think they had players from 8 decades show up. So I don't remember, really doesn't matter how old you are. You probably saw somebody from your childhood show up at that one. Guys going all the way back to the 50s. So yeah, it's awesome, and I think it kind of shows that for a program that kind of gets laughed at for not having any history. I mean, they still got some things to be proud about, and some guys that still take a lot of pride in their school and their program. And, especially when you get guys that haven't been back here in a long time. Like, I don't know if Vincent Hamilton's been back since he graduated, and he was back here. Jerron Boone's kind of in that same conversation. They really hoped to get Teron Lou back, but obviously with the All-Star game weekend and the Clippers hosting, he had some other responsibilities that kind of created a last-minute conflict there. But in the end, I think it's cool that they all came back to support the program, and then obviously honor that 95-96 team. But I think it also kind of shows that I don't know if these guys would come back if they weren't kind of excited about the direction of their alma mater. I think that has something to do with it too, where a lot of these guys really enjoy what Fred Hoiberg and his staff have built and what this program has kind of evolved into over the last few years. So it's a combination of kind of honoring their past, but also supporting the present and future of Nebraska basketball. So it was a cool weekend, and it was good that Nebraska made sure not to screw it up with a disappointing home loss to Northwestern.
Robin, if you're shooting a halftime half-court shot, do you do it with the mink coat on or off? We were giving him a little bit of grief about that.
Yeah, I get what he was trying to do. Like, it would have made for a cool picture and video and all that, but it was clearly restricting his shoulders. Like that mink coat is not meant for athletic stunts. So he, took a risk doing that, and he came close. I mean, he was a couple inches off hitting a couple of those, but I think he for sure would have made it if he would have taken the coat off.
Do you have a mink coat?
No, not yet. I think that's probably going to be in the next contract negotiation.
It's Robin Washer with us here, HuskerOnline.com. And Robin, as you look ahead to what this game is tonight, it feels really big for both teams. It's maybe bigger for Iowa because their resume is solid. The one thing that they lack is top 25 wins, those premier marquee wins that'll move you up the seed line. They've taken care of business for the most part against lower level teams, but they could really use a win against a team like Nebraska. To flip it around for Nebraska, they haven't beaten a tournament team since they went and beat, Indiana. I think Indiana's probably the only or the last tournament team that they went out and beat. So you've had a pretty long layoff since you've beat a team that you're going to be competing against come March. First off, does that concern you that Iowa really does feel like they need this win for their NCAA tournament hopes? Secondly, what type of motivation do you see from Nebraska? What type of, challenges does Iowa pose?
Yeah, that's a factor for sure. I think it does mean a bit more for Iowa, but it's significant for Nebraska too, for a lot of reasons. For one, it's Iowa, and you got a bunch of Iowans on that staff that know all about this rivalry and have their own respective feelings about Iowa. You got Price Sanford coming back to Iowa City for the first time. There's an element there that spices this up for Nebraska. And then, like you said, this is kind of the last chance for Nebraska to, really have a true quote-unquote statement win, or at least one of the last chances in the regular season. And in their situation, they're fighting to, hang into that 2-seed conversation, and a win tonight would go a long way in kind of strengthening their position there. If you lose, then you're probably, falling down for sure to the 3 and trying to stay out of the 4 line. So from a seeding perspective, it's big. From a Big Ten Conference tournament position, it's big because, you want to stay in the top 4 so you get that triple bye and have to play one less game before the NCAA tournament starts. And so there's, a lot of incentive, I think, for Nebraska in this one, even though for Iowa's sake, they're right in that kind of at-large cutoff point where I think they're about an 8 seed, maybe a 9 seed, depending on where you look. And like I said, they don't have a lot of signature wins. I think they're winless in quad one opportunities. So this is kind of their last chance to add a pretty critical piece to their resume. And so, I think both teams have a lot at stake. I don't think there's going to be any worry about lack of motivation on either side, because both teams have a lot of reasons to get locked in for this one. But Nebraska's been really good on the road all year. 6 road wins, most in program history. That doesn't come as a fluke. Like, I think says a lot about this team and their maturity and ability to handle difficult situations. And some of their best wins of the season have come on the road. So one more opportunity to add another one to that list that would go a long way to help in their positioning come postseason play.
Robin, I want to kind of zero in here on Price a little bit. When the season started, much was said about Rink coming back, the senior captain, Jamarcus coming back for his second term also. And, we saw both of those guys sitting, from a lot of the final 13 minutes, and went with a smaller lineup and kind of being unsung all season. It seems like that we have quietly relied on Bryce. I know that other players have gotten, double figure games, but he's almost kind of nonchalantly become that go-to guy. And with him going back to Iowa, I'm trying to figure out, where the strength is. I'm sure he's going to hear it a little bit from the crowd. I know they have a new coaching staff, but, maybe there's some familiarity, having shot on those rims before. Is this a type of kid you're going to know him better than anyone else? Is he feeling any added pressure coming back for a game like this to be the guy, to lead his team to victory now that he's playing on the other bench?
I'm sure there's part of that. It's kind of a natural situation for a guy like that, an Iowan going back to Iowa, played for Iowa. His brother played at Iowa. Like, they got some pretty strong roots there in Iowa City. And, he's said all the right things. He downplayed it, said it's just another road game. Like, so he's not going to tell you if he is feeling it, but I find it hard to believe that there isn't a little extra, fuel for him going into this one. And I'm sure he's going to hear from the crowd. Like, a lot of Iowa fans wanted to keep him and were really disappointed when he left, especially when he left to go to Nebraska. Like, of all the places, that probably was the, most triggering one for that fan base. And so he's going to, I'm sure, get his share of boos, and, the student section, I'm sure, is going to have some things to say to him. But the good news is that for whatever reason, the last 2 years, whenever Nebraska played Iowa, it seems like Bryce Sanford somehow had his best game of the season whenever Nebraska was in town. So maybe that works the same way. When Nebraska's in Carver Hawkeye, suddenly Price balls out and just goes off. So I don't know. I think that, again, when you talk about how mature and kind of steady Eddie this group is, Price certainly is right at the top of that conversation. There's going to be emotions involved. It's going to be a unique setting for him. But I think once the ball is tipped off, you just play your game. And, this game is big for him, but I think he understands that he can't make it about him. He can't make this the Price-Sanford revenge game. This is about Nebraska playing Iowa and getting a win that we just talked about would mean a lot for their postseason positioning. So I think he's going to be able to compartmentalize the motivation of returning to Iowa while also not playing above himself and beyond his role to try to do too much because of that. I think he's going to just play his game, which, as has been all season, has been one of the best shooters in all college, really, of the Big Ten, and one of the best shooters in the country.
Maybe more importantly, what do you think Peyton Sanford, the older brother, does tonight? We saw him wearing the Husker shirt on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Is this like you go Iowa shirt, Husker hat? Like, how do you go about handling this if you're the older brother?
I don't know. I would assume he'll probably play it close to the vest, but his brother. It's one thing to support your brother; it's another thing to completely root against your former team that you just played for a year ago. So I would assume he wears Iowa stuff. If anything, maybe he just wears like a black hoodie. That way you're
go neutral.
The half and half.
And it is a blackout there. So if you just wear like a black coat or something like that, you can blend in and no one's going to probably bother you too much.
Are you the half and half shirt where it says Nebraska on the NEBR and then OA?
I think that's for grandparents.
Nebroa or
Nebroa.
Ayahuasca.
I don't think you go to Iowa.
You're going to start sewing right after the show, aren't you, Elijah?
Yeah, I think you guys are onto something now.
So Robin Wash with us, your HuskerOnline.com. And Robin, before we get you out, I do want to get your thoughts on specifically how does this Iowa team stress Nebraska? I mean, you see some of the 3-point shooting. They run some pretty offensive sets. If Nebraska were to fall tonight, how do you think Iowa does it?
Well, it starts with Bennett Sturts, as always. He's kind of like a Nick Martinelli for Northwestern, where like probably 90% of everything they do runs through him. So he's priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the scouting report. He's averaging over 20 a game, ranked in the top 10 in the Big Ten in assists. So, basically all their offense, one way or the other, is generated by Bennett Sturts. And he's also really good at getting the free throw line. He's got over 100 free throw attempts on the season. And so, that's the other thing. He's not just a 3-level scorer, but he's big and strong enough that he can put his head down, draw contact, and get cheap ones at the free throw line. And, that's a problem not just for the scoring, but also Nebraska is running with a limited bench right now, 6, 7 guys. And foul trouble could be a real issue if they don't defend the right way. So that's kind of the key, is trying to contain him as much as possible, while also, finding the right blend of physicality to where you're containing him without giving him, free points at the line. And then also just the way Iowa plays, they're extremely plodding, methodical offense. They're going to run the shot clock down, try to, muddle it up and use the shot clock as much as possible to shorten the game, limit possessions, and win just kind of an ugly game. And Nebraska is a team that wants to get out and push the pace. So, when you do get stops, like always, you got to finish those possessions. You cannot give a team that's going to eat up that much clock every time they have the ball 2-3 cracks at it, because then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in a 50-50 game with 4 minutes left, and you're playing right into Iowa's hands. So Nebraska's got to defend the right way, finish possessions, and then try to push the pace as much as possible to have their style of game on the other end. So a lot of it is just not falling into Iowa's trap, which starts with Bennett Sturts and his ability to kind of change the game with fouls, by drawing fouls, and then also not letting Iowa completely control the tempo of the game and taking out your transition fast break offense, which is kind of the hallmark of what Nebraska wants to do.
So Robin Wash it with us, your HuskerOnline.com, and got Nebraska, Iowa coming tonight at 8. Robin, also this week, Nebraska football kicks off spring practices. It's last time we'll talk to you before they kick off those practices. So I want to get your thoughts, kind of a bit of a primer here. What questions do you have with this Husker football team that you think we may get answered during spring practices?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I'd never really get any questions answered in the spring ball. I mean, I guess being able to see Calandria, that's probably the big one. Just because he's the guy, and they need him to be the guy, and just what that picture looks like. He's going to be such a far cry from what Dylan was, just in terms of style. What does that do to the offense? But beyond that, I don't know. I'm glad they're actually playing a game or a scrimmage in the spring game as opposed to whatever last year was. So at least we'll actually get to see some football with the top group and have at least a semblance of an idea of what the go-to guys are going to look like. But in the end, it's spring ball. I don't put a lot of stock into really anything outside of just getting first eyeball looks at certain guys. They got a lot of newcomers that they're going to be relying heavily upon. Just seeing how the defense operates a little bit with Rob Orich. So, I mean, there's some things you can at least just get your first glimpse at. But beyond that, I think people have kind of been through this enough that what happens in spring doesn't usually mean all that much come fall.
So, well, that is Robin Washut. Robin, thank you for taking time with us. Are you out there in Iowa City now, or are you making the trek later on today?
Yep, heading out a little bit later. We got to do some stuff around here first, so I'll probably leave a little around noon and be there for plenty of time before that 8 a.m. tip, or 8 p.m. tip, 8 p.m.
You are driving?
Yeah, oh yeah. fly to Iowa City.
Well, we figured there's a local restaurant chain here that we figured might be chartering you out with their private jet. So,
I got the Slim Chicken sponsorship, but it doesn't go that far. They cut me off pretty early.
Well, we'll work. We'll make some calls. So, that's Robin Washington. Robin, have a safe drive out. Always great talking to you about Husker basketball. When we return here on the Morning Hookup, we will wrap up hour number 1.
Oh, Robin's no longer in line. There we go. Yes.
Boy, I'm getting heckling. I think I must have slaughtered there was an obvious Bryce question. Oh, buddy of mine. He's like, well, you ask dumb questions about Bryce, you're going to get dumb answers. I'm like, well, it didn't work. You got to remember, I'm going on 4 hours of sleep here.
I didn't hear any dumb questions.
Well, I mean, because it's going to be a Price versus Sturts show.
Oh yeah.
And does Price rise above, hey, the expectations of coming back, throwing in probably some heckling and stuff, or is he a decoy? And it's the Rink Mass comeback show. Rink Mass.
I just
like saying Rink Mass.
We'll talk Husker basketball. We got 6.5 minutes on the clock here. We'll talk Husker basketball to close the hour.
Next hour?
We'll close the hour here with Husker basketball.
What are you going to do all next hour then?
Next hour, we can talk a little spring football, and then we'll get Brian Munson on the horn.
All right.
Are you not ready to turn the page and talk spring football yet?
Oh, I am. That's fine. That's fine.
A lot of people aren't ready to talk about. They want to keep that football team as far away from their daily thoughts as possible, which I get.
All right, I'll do the rejoin.
You got it?
Little quick 30-second snippet, then we'll dive back into the basketball to end it.
Okay. So you want to lead us back in?
Yes.
Okay.
You can just point.
Just confirming.
I'm a little groggy still for the post.
And I got the song queued up.
I guess
while I'm here, let's do this.
Is it Young MC Bust a Move?
It is not. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, I had a 1 in 10 million chance.
Okay, we're coming back. We got about 60 seconds. So,
and we call Brian like at 10:20, like the second segment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I love that little fella.
Just a little guy.
Little fella. I don't know. I just remember he's shorter than I am. Jeez. So I just call everyone little fella. I can call most people in this building little fella except Moats.
I've actually never met Brian in person.
I have a couple times. Nice guy. I mean, just as nice in person as he is on the phone.
I'm trying to think.
It's Fan Day, I think, probably a couple times.
Honestly, I've never been to Fan Day.
I don't go anymore. Not that I'm not a fan. It's just, there was more to take the kids. And
do you have interest in going back to? Maybe we can talk about this in the next hour. Do you have interest in going to a spring game this year now that it's back, or now that it's gone away for you?
Yes, absolutely, and I'll explain why.
Okay, we'll get into that next hour. Last year sucked. We all knew it was going to suck, and then it did.
Yeah, if you turn it into like the football Olympics.
Yeah. We are coming back here.
Okay. Welcome back into the Morning Hookup. I am Hugh Malone. Sitting on the other side of the glass from me is Elijah Herbal. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming game for our Husker men's basketball team tonight, traveling out to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes. Elijah, before I get to that, in case some of our listeners didn't get your right week up to go, got to bed about 3, got home. I got off work about 3, got home about 4. Phone rang. Mozi's calling me. He's like, yeah, we've got YZ didn't feel good. I'm like, absolutely. And I told Moats this morning, I said, I don't have to answer the phone, but I enjoy doing this. We've talked about how I did radio 30 years ago and love doing it. So I'm still kind of waking up. I know we had one of these triple shot, whatever hoopties, whatever they are. It's whatever Beavis drinks. And
no free shout. Good on you. No free shout outs to the company that makes these triple shot energy drinks.
What's that?
No, good on you not shouting out this $1 billion corporation that.
Right. I just said it was a drink. Yeah, it was a drink. I don't even give out. I don't name anybody by name.
Nice.
True
pro.
But yes, we do have some listeners. Gentleman I went to high school with. He texted me, and he was questioning my ability to articulate this early in the morning off of 4 hours of sleep. So great guy.
I think you've been doing fine.
I do. And boy, I wonder if he's listening or if I could get him on the stream. He would be proud of me this morning. I know he's got kids that go to Northwest, and I just threw on a hoodie and a hat. I got my purple going on. You know what was great? Xavier got outside to practice yesterday. They didn't even have school because it was President's Day, but they were able to get outside the baseball team and practice. I tell you what, Elijah, and I know you as an umpire have a little bit of that fever too, that, boy, it's getting closer.
Yeah, it's just we have to make it through. And I think teams probably feel the same way. You do have to make it through all the early season BS before you finally get to playing games. It's like, from a team point of view, like you have to make it through all the tryouts and you have to make it through, like,
sure.
You have to deal with weather where it's inside one day, outside the next day. We're working on fundamentals. For an umpire point of view, it's like we have rules tests we got to take. We got clinics we got to make it off to. I need to buy a new pair of umpire pants this year before we get the season started. And
he did. He made me go out and buy him a new pair of cleats yesterday too.
Yeah, it's all the stuff you have to get through. And then once the game starts, like, all right, finally.
It's like, my equipment, my seed cap and double kneed tough skin jeans and everything lasted multiple seasons when I used to play Little League for Sprague Martell.
Hey, they'll make them like they used to. Simple as that.
So,
Husker basketball. We are running out of time.
That's fine. Husker basketball.
What is your level of concern, or the concern optimism scale? If we're going 1 to 10, 1 fully concerned, 10 Nebraska will never lose this game. Where do you think you're at tonight?
I'm at a 6.
Okay.
I'm confident because I look ahead, like, let's call it how it is. This is probably Nebraska's hardest remaining game. Yeah. Except, they do have that West Coast trip where you've got USC and UCLA that can be tricky with the time slate.
Iowa's a better team than both of those teams, I believe.
I believe so too. It's at their place. We talked about, Price coming back and stuff. But I think, if you look at some of that sloppiness, that Northwestern, that's a good coach, and they knew what they'd do. And they mucked that up, turned it into a rock fight. Nebraska made the adjustments. And I think coaches are now, we've done a good job of self-scouting ourselves to come up with counters to everything. And I think Fred's got their attention. Yes, we dropped a couple spots here. Make no mistake, that team wants to be, at least a 2 seed.
Yep.
And they know if they can go out here and run the slate before the tournament, that they've got a real opportunity to get that right in front of them.
That's what it's going to take. Run the table before the Big Ten tournament. Then whatever happens, you still give yourself a good argument at a 2 seed. If it's anything short of running the table, you're going to need to make a little bit of a run at the Big Ten tournament to give yourself a chance. And we've seen in recent years, the Big Ten and conference tournaments matter less to seeding than regular season games. You can maybe move up a spot. You can drop a spot based on what happens in the Big Ten tournament, but you're not going to make any huge difference come Big Ten tourney time.
But those teams are so close up there at the top. You never know.
Yeah.
You run this out and then run the gamut there at the tournament. I can say it. It's, watching some of the shuffling, especially last week with Houston, Iowa State, Arizona dumping a couple, still being a number 1 isn't out of the question, only with 3 losses if you run everything out. But we're going to 1 game at a time this thing.
I am with you. Run the table, win the Big Ten tournament, and I think you give yourself a shot at a 1 seed. But that is not what this team is.
California dreaming.
This team with a 7-ish man rotation.
Boy, you'd like. I know we've talked about this. I'd love to see it at 8.
I don't think they're built to go win 3 games in 3 days in a Big Ten tournament setting.
Not with that sort of bench.
And I'm not sure you want to, because
the last thing you want is somebody getting banged up because you're already in the tournament,
and then tired legs going into a first round game.
Right.
I think hey, go win 1 game at the Big Ten tournament, and then bow out might be the best for them. Go get yourself to a semifinal. And
are you telling Fred's team to tank this once and then get rest?
I like competitiveness and winning's awesome, but we all know.
Or get Leo Curtis healthy and make that guy your 8th man. Everyone
around here knows getting a win in the NCAA tournament means more than anything that could go and happen in Chicago.
Will they be rioting down, in O Street like we do at the national championship in football if we win a NCAA tournament game?
If Rothstein comes and opens up the tab, maybe. But this Iowa team, as I talked about with Robin, they want they're going to want it more tonight, I think, because this game means more to them. Just slightly. It means a lot to Nebraska, but for Iowa to go get a quad win opportunity, their first top 25 win potentially of the season, it's the type of pelt you'd like to have on your wall from a resume point
Especially how a couple of those Iowa games recently have ended for Nebraska, being up 15, blowing second half lead. So I think they'll be ready.
Nebraska will be ready. This should be a dogfight tonight. We'll see.
All right.
Both teams can shoot it. It'll be a lot of fun.
That does it for hour number 1 here. Hour number 2, we're going to have Husker Online Brian Munson.
Talk some Husker
football. We're going to talk Husker football spring game, and I think we'll talk a little bit about Husker softball. What else you got?
Maybe NBA draft changing. We'll see.
We'll talk about that all more on hour number 2, Morning Hookup.
Kim told me you weren't feeling well, so I'm just doing a self-care check.
Oh, thank you, friend.
How you doing?
Girl, listen, my energy was so low because I didn't eat breakfast when I got up, so I had to miss virtual yoga with y'all.
Trust me, I understand.
But I'm doing much better now that I've eaten, so I'm back on track.
Great. In that case, let's get some steps in tonight. I'll come over and we can walk around the lake.
Sounds good. Appreciate you being in my business, too. Now, let me get in yours. Did you check your blood pressure today?
I did that and my squats. Okay?
Okay.
High blood pressure is not going to be my friend if I can help it. See you at 6?
Let's get it. See you then.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Check in on one another and be a part of a healthy blood pressure movement. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
I'm Ernie Hudson, actor, cancer survivor, and father of 4. As a dad, there's nothing I wouldn't do to protect my kids from cancer. The human papillomavirus, or HPV, can cause 6 types of cancer, but the HPV vaccine can stop cancer before it starts. Girls and boys should get the vaccine at 11 or 12, and there's a catch-up option for teens and young adults. For more information, go to preventcancer.org.
The Legacy Retirement Communities invite you to enjoy the independence, comfort, and peace of mind they offer in their own special way at all of their locations. Connect with others, enjoy fabulous food, educational programs, fitness centers, and more. The Legacy communities are filled with movers and doers who embrace every stage of life, giving you the opportunity to live each day enriched and grateful. For a tour, call 402-436-3000 or visit legacyretirement.com.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy place every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
I'm Saniqua Martin Green, and when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, our world changed forever. This experience made me so passionate about spreading awareness of treatment options, including clinical trials. I'm joining Stand Up to Cancer to get information to those who have been diagnosed with cancer and their loved ones. Clinical trials introduce new hope for patients, providing access to cutting-edge new treatments. Talk to your doctor to see if a clinical trial may be the best choice for you or a loved one. To learn more, visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM. KFOR and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Civil rights activist and two-time presidential candidate Jesse Jackson, founding member of the Rainbow Push Coalition, has died. He worked to expand voting rights and, as his family says, spent his whole life giving a voice to the voiceless. President Trump voicing his thoughts on Jesse Jackson. Here's ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers.
In a post on social media, President Trump called the late Reverend Jesse Jackson a, quote, good man with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. He described Jackson as gregarious, someone who truly loved people, and said he'll be missed. The president also highlighted what he says he did for Jackson, working with him when he was a businessman and then again on policy issues when he was in the White House. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Talks in Geneva on Iran's nuclear program over without a breakthrough. Talks on ending the war in Ukraine taking place today as well, also in Geneva. ABC's Ian Pannell has more from the foreign desk.
More than 500,000 people in Ukraine have endured months without heating amidst a brutal winter. Next week, of course, is 4 long bloody years since Russia's massive invasion. And despite all the positive mood music and the chances of a deal, the reality is that huge disagreements remain on the issue of land, with few expecting an end to the war anytime soon.
Investigators in Tucson clearing all family members of Nancy Guthrie, as the mother of Today host Savannah Guthrie is now 2.5 weeks old.
In her most recent Instagram post, Savannah appealed directly to the kidnapper's conscience.
It is never too late to do the right thing.
Investigators are focusing on what the suspect is seen wearing, using receipts and security camera footage from Walmart. The Ozark Trail Hiker pack is exclusive to the retailer, and investigators say the suspect may have purchased other items at Walmart, too.
Major League Baseball Players Association head Tony Clark resigning right before talks between the owners and the union are about to begin. This is ABC News.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic ulcerative colitis. Or at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
A weekend pursuit ends with an arrest just outside of Lincoln. Good morning, I'm Jeff Modes. We're at the 59 degrees at KFOR. Want to let you report of a rollover crash at Cornhusker Highway and Russell Circle. That's just the northeast of Superior, Cornhusker, and Havelock Avenue. In that general region, traffic going to be an issue in that area for the time being. Several agencies were involved in a pursuit Saturday night over portions of eastern Nebraska. It later led to the arrest of a 42-year-old man from Tennessee. Nebraska State Patrol spokesperson Cody Thomas telling KFOR News a trooper trying to make a traffic stop for failure to stop at a stop sign near Gretna, which led to the car driven by one Avant to take off in a multi-county pursuit.
The pursuit lasted for over an hour from the original area of Gretna up into Douglas County, then over to Saunders County, throughout Saunders County, and eventually started coming southbound into Lancaster County.
Once in Lancaster County, Thomas says sheriff's deputies successfully deployed stop sticks on Highway 79, just north of Highway 34. Avant was arrested for flight to avoid arrest, even possession of a controlled substance, among other offenses, and was later put in the Sarpy County Jail. We're not that far removed from Valentine's Day, of course, but one Lincoln area family has seen 8 siblings stay married to their spouses for significant amounts of time. An in-law, Tony Wenzel, has kept track on how each of the siblings from the Wilson family near Bennett have stayed together. He and his wife, Carol, have been married for 57 years. Wenzel telling KFOR News when he met Carol, she was still in high school, and he came from Steiner, Nebraska, which is north of Pawnee City. Wenzel adds that he found the Wilson family odd because they didn't drink, but they spent time together, and they played a lot of games.
It was quite of an adjustment for me. And after about 6 years of marriage, I came around to their way of thinking, and life has been much better.
Wenzel says with 8 marriages in the Wilson family between 1948 and 1975, all have or were married a combined total of 462 years. That figures out to be an average of 58 years per couple. Red flag warning from noon today until 8 o'clock this evening. Becoming sunny and breezy today, a high of 77. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
Let's go. At Liberty First Credit Union, you don't have to wait. Get auto loan rates as low as 2.99% and personal loans as low as 7.49% for up to 36 months. Whether you're upgrading your ride, tackling a project, or planning your next big move, Liberty First helps you get there faster for less. Liberty First Credit Union. Let's go save. Rate and APR based on creditworthiness, term, and if applicable, vehicle details. See Liberty First Credit Union for details. Equal housing lender. Equal housing opportunity.
Make hauling easy with the MWC Park Can Easy Dump. This satellite dumper goes where big garbage trucks can't and can haul everything from trash to yard waste to recycling. The fully automatic Easy Dump fits in the back of a standard pickup truck, so there's no need for a CDL license. Perfect for alleys, gated communities, condos, parks, anywhere.
This is the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Welcome back into hour 2 of the Morning Hookup. Elijah Verbal and you Malone talking with you here on a Tuesday morning. We yesterday out for President's Day. Hookie still down in Scottsdale on YZYs and we're under the weather today. So it's good 2 hours of this time. Thanks for coming in back into the hour.
Yes, absolutely. It was funny during the break. I went back and was busy with Lost Rob and forgot that he came and sat by us for the Northwestern game on Saturday. It was kind of cool. Yes, he was sitting a row in front of us and maybe over to my left by about 15 feet. I didn't want to yell, so I shot him a message. And of course, Xavier, he's the exact opposite of me. He's very socially side. Dad, you can't just be messaging random people you find in the crowd. Do you even know him? I'm like, yes, I know him. And Rob was kind of positioned behind the tubas in a bad spot behind the band, so he couldn't really see. And so Rob came up and him and his son came up and sat next to Xavier and I for the second half. And that's what the key was Rob coming up and sitting by us, because the second half, as we've talked to, was totally different. And
we need to make sure Rob has a good view tonight.
We do. Before we switch topics, I asked Robin this question too. And for me, Saturday, there's a little bit of that kid in the candy store effect when those guys, the alumni come back, getting to see guys like I know Dave Hoppin has season tickets, but Piakowski came back in that 96 team. A lot of the guys who I went to school with, Terrence Badgett, Strickland, Jerron Boone, watching them come back. Coach Nee was there, which was really cool. And obviously our very own Henry T, he doesn't miss a single one of those. And it was kind of nice. I got to see the McGowans, because we've had Trey in here before on the radio. Got to catch up with him, and
this post going around. It is pretty special how Bryce McGowans has actually embraced Nebraska.
Yes,
for a guy that was here for
1 year.
1 year. I mean, honestly, less once you talk about like draft preparations and whatnot.
But I think because not only him, but you throw Trey in there too. That and talking with the family, the love that family felt from this community, even though it was just 1 year based upon his career decisions, that he calls this his college home, and just as Trey does too, and Trey went some other places too, and they came back and it was, you could just see it that they felt part of that family, and that's what was great.
It's not just alumni day. I mean, the McGowans always come back for a football game as well. I can't remember which game I saw them at this past year, but they were back in Lincoln for a football game. Like they really do embrace the University of Nebraska, despite, I mean, you don't see many one and dones doing that in modern college basketball that come back and they're still proud. I just can't say alumni, but legends. Legends of whatever program that they were at. I mean, you don't see guys like that coming back and embracing their old schools as much today.
I don't think he was able to make it for the Northwestern game, but I think it was the Purdue game, or maybe the game before that. It was the Illinois game, excuse me. Isaac Copeland came back for that, and just watching him walk past the student section, those students are smart. They knew who that was, even if they weren't in school then. They were probably youngsters following Husker basketball. Like, hey, there's Isaac Copeland. Isaac came back. They even let him run one of the T-shirt guns. So it was just, it's great to see that. And now, especially, these alums being able to hitch their wagon to this team to finally see Nebraska basketball getting to where, we've all wanted it, even while all those guys have played. And of course, the highlight, of as he's grown up from just a toddler, Xavier's known Henry T for a while. And I finally got a picture this year where Xavier is taller than him, finally. So Xavier
taller than T.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. You have to look on Facebook. He's got him. He dunked on both of us.
Well, I say last year I went out and umpired for him. He was tall, but was he taller than me? I don't think so.
Oh, yeah.
Was he?
He is now, he is now for sure.
Yeah, he's probably not for sure.
Yeah. So
not fair. I remember when he was just a little guy.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
Well, remember
my grocery bill remembers when he was a little guy.
Do you remember whenever this is a couple years ago now? He probably would have been middle school age. Which Marvel movie was it that came out? I can't remember which one it was, but we walk into
the theater.
The theater on a Tuesday night, and who do I sit right next to?
And you were there. I do remember that. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember that.
We're walking in halfway through previews, and it's dark in the theater. And I look to my right, and I go, "Wait, that's you."
And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, Elijah, you're that guy that gets here and misses previews, huh? That's the only reason we come."
I like to be there for the start. The thing is, the previews don't even start whenever the scheduled movie time is anymore.
Right.
Right now, like you have like these normal commercials that play, and then it's 5 minutes after the scheduled movie time. Here's when the previews start. I try to be there right at that first preview.
Yeah, because then you look, whoever you're sitting there next, you look at each other like yay or nay on whether you want to see that movie.
Exactly.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's an aside. We've gotten.
But we're gonna need a third hour for the show.
The rabbit trail here. Husker football spring practice kicks off Saturday.
Yes.
And I have a couple questions that have been brought in, and that's kind of the question to me during spring practice is with all the changes that were made from a coaching staff and personnel point of view, how much do we actually get? Maybe not answered, but do we get a better idea of post-spring practice? I walked in with a couple. First question to me is do you have a defensive line that maybe with a pared down, what's being asked of them? Because I think you're going to have a four-man front. I guess that's a big question to me is, are you a four-man front defense? That's the expectation. Where you come in and playing a four-man front. And do you have defensive linemen that seem to know their role and be able to be more solid? I mean, the question we asked yesterday on the Average Joe Sports Show, which I think is premature, is can the defensive line cause havoc? I do want to see that, but that's not the important thing to me. The important thing to me is, do you have a defensive line that can take on double teams and that can keep your linebackers free to go make plays? Because I think you did upgrade in your linebacker room.
And that's important. And that's kind of a caveat to this whole question. Your defensive line, I mean, if you take a look at and I'll throw some names out, Williams Moari, Van Poppel, even a Cam Leonard, the sum of those parts last year is better than how they played.
Yes,
by far. Now I'm going to combine that.
Well, but the question with that quickly is I think that is the belief within the team. I don't think that's the belief within the fan base. And I think from some of us that sit there and like watch the line play, I do think that you have pieces on that defensive line that did not play up to their previous seasons at Nebraska. I think you had a couple different guys that last year, and it's probably why you lead to a defensive line coaching change. That, I mean, the one that stands out to me, Riley Van Poppel, was a guy that in his redshirt season, I know it was more limited snaps, but he didn't seem to be a guy that could get pushed around. He wasn't playing at his best last year. I'll add, I know he's not around anymore. Keona Davis didn't kind of take the strides you wanted. Linhart has shown flashes of what he can be, and he didn't seem to ever even have any flashes last season. The D-line as a whole just did not play up to what we had come to expect from them.
The expectations.
And I think the coaching staff, based on what they brought in through the portal, has a belief that with coaching changes, maybe a schematic change, you can bring the best out of these guys. Time will tell. But that seems to be their internal belief just based on the additions that were made through the offseason.
Well, and you made the comment that that's not the fans' belief. And I'm okay with that because I like it when the expectations are lower and fans are pleasantly surprised. It gives them less to complain about. And if you combine what is in that room and you brought in some pieces, okay, maybe you didn't go out and write the 7-figure check for NIL money to get a big name. And it's hard to do on the defensive line. We know that. But you brought in some depth pieces into that defensive line. If you combine the pieces that you do have coming back with the aforementioned names, with a new coaching, a new scheme, and another year of experience, I promise you this, that you will see a defensive line that looks a lot better than they did last year. And they didn't play that bad, but why aren't you getting the sacks? Why aren't you getting the pressure? And there was so much added pressure onto them because you didn't have the production at that second level that you thought you were going to have. And I don't know why, but we were all drooling because of, having right back, having Shavers there, and, having McGahee or whoever it may be as a group for one reason or another. I don't know if it was schematics or whatever, but we didn't have the season out of the linebacking crew that we thought. And all of a sudden, that blame gets pushed. Everything rolls downhill onto that defensive line. Like, you are going to have to make the stops. You're going to have to get the pressures. You're going to have to get the sacks. And when that doesn't happen, the defense as a whole then gets exposed.
And I think that conversation goes two ways, where I don't think the linebackers did the D-line any favors, but I don't think the D-line did the linebackers any favors.
No, it has to work in tandem. It does.
You need defensive linemen that can take on double teams and do the dirty work to keep those linebackers free. But then to flip it around, linebackers, whenever you do have an opportunity to go shoot a gap and make a play, you got to go make that play. You didn't see much of that last year either. So it goes both ways.
And it's different, and I think no matter what you want to call it, a 3-3-5 or a 4-2-5 or whatnot, I think now that you're going to have a bona fide fourth guy every down with his hand on the turf, that you're going to have guys better suited to play that defensive line position that they're made to play, rather than make a guy try and play more of a defensive tackle when he's built like an end, and vice versa. I truly think that and you have to remember this too. Let's back up to Ty Robinson. When we got him out of Arizona and we fought off everybody in the country to bring him in, we drooled and we waited and we waited and we waited. And then finally, after the development, the time in the weight room, getting better each year, what does Ty do his senior year? He has an absolute breakout season, now playing on Sundays. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is going to do that, but you see that quite a bit when it comes to defensive line play, that it takes the development, it takes the coaching and everything like that to understand, how do I shed this block? How do I take on this double team? What do I do on this call and that call? And finally, you get to see the polished product later on. You see a lot more than you do having some guy that runs a 4-2 come in and be able to play receiver as a true freshman.
Yep.
There's a lot more development when it comes to that defensive line position.
You have to see a lot more than when it clicks,
Right.
And we'll see if it's clicking time for some of these defensive linemen, because it needs to be. A question in from Bev, which I think maybe not answered, but we'll get a better idea. She wants to know, how effective will the offensive line be in spring practice and in the spring game? I'm not sure that's the question that I think will be answered. I want to see some more of the minutia with the offensive line in terms of their technique and their fundamentals. You've brought in, 3 new starters essentially. Do you have an offensive line that is more mobile and able to get up to second levels, get hands on linebackers? How effective are your double team combo blocks into linebackers? Do you have guys that look more comfortable in space? Part of this is going to be what the offensive scheme looks like as well, and I don't think we're going to get a very good sense of that. They're going to keep their cards close to their vest, I believe, through spring in terms of what the offense is. Maybe a little bit more quarterback run. Maybe you'll get some of the kind of identity type plays. But whenever I'm watching the offensive line, it's more, hey, how do these guys work together in terms of combo blocks? Do these guys look more mobile, more athletic? Are they able to get movement on their double teams? I'm looking at those things as opposed to how the unit looks as a finished product, because you're going to have a lot more time for these offensive linemen to gel. And there is value in guys being able to play together for 6 months of spring into summer into fall camp. Guys are going to gel together. And once that guy next to you know what he's doing and, hey, what the new coach coming in wants from you. I think that's going to be a continuous process of improvement, but I'm looking for some of the minutia from the offensive line to determine, have they improved from last season, not just personnel wise, but technique wise.
Well, and every year everyone wants to see, what is that offensive line going to look like? And you know what, Elijah, they weren't bad last year. They weren't, and especially when it came time to run, and we were even running the ball against Iowa. The problem is, if you have a penalty, if you just have a play that doesn't work, and then now you're back in a 2nd and 12, a 3rd and 9, that teams were okay with that, because they were willing to send an extra rusher, test that quarterback's mobility. We're not going to get into that, great arm and stuff, and and it stressed that offensive line. But look at that. Once Pritchard got used to being here and knowing what the standards were, dude, he played great ball. And we can sit and we can prognosticate on who's going to be that starting five based upon the NIL checks that we wrote. And if that does come to fruition, great, because obviously you're still waiting for some of those youngsters, the Sam Sledges, the Grant Brickses, a lot like the defensive line to get ready. But you've got a lot of experience coming back. Now, adding a quarterback that has a little bit more building, maybe you can roll him out. Are we not taxing that offensive line when it comes to definite passing situations? Because make no mistake, our run blocking wasn't bad. I mean, yes, you had a man named Emmett Johnson back there that made life real easy too. But
let's add, they also brought in via the portal guys that are predominantly run first offensive linemen.
And I'm okay with that. And I know a lot's been said too about, Jeep Wade coming in too, that, you go back and take a look at the tape of Georgia Tech's offensive line. That, if you can, I would rather have a team, that kind of how it was in the 80s. Obviously we passed a little bit, but it was a run first offensive lineman. Got to be able to move that ball on the ground. But I think some of these guys too, Elijah and guys like that they're going to, the pass pro, that'll definitely come there. And when there are deficiencies in that pass blocking, do I have a quarterback who when he's flush, is he able to step up? Is he able to roll out, maybe escape that? Not necessarily a designed run, but go get you 3, 4, 5 yards, or to continue the play a little bit till a receiver's able to open up, downfield. A good quarterback who can throw on the run too is going to hide a lot of deficiencies in the pass pro. Not saying that we have them, but the offensive line, you're not going to get all the answers you want probably till the fall. But I definitely look to see some improved offensive line play as a whole in the team concept.
Yep. And I'm looking for mobility. Do your tackles look like tackles? Do your guards get up to second level? And once they get hands on a guy second level, he's out of the play. From a center point of view, do you have miscommunications? And I think some miscommunications in the spring will be all right. I doubt the defense will be putting too much pressure on an offensive line in the spring game. But just make sure that with that in mind, that the offensive line has things cleaned up. Last question I have that I think we could get a better idea of by the end of spring. Do you have a running back differentiating himself as your 1A type guy? We know there's going to be more of a rotation in the running back room this year, but based on what we see through spring and what we hear from the coaching staff, is there a running back between Mosey and Nelson, and maybe throw Ives in that mix as well, that can differentiate themselves and show themselves to be the guy that is going to be getting 70% of the carries next year, as opposed to like a 40-40-10 split or a 50-50 split? Like, we're not going to know what the rotation is, but based on eye test, does one of those running backs differentiate themselves and show themselves to be the guy that is going to get the bulk of the carries next year?
I don't think so yet, and maybe that can happen. Whereas when we were talking a year ago, we knew, okay, EJ is probably going to get the chunk. Could be situational. Does one of these guys block better in pass pro? Is one of them flare out for screen passes better? If I need to go get 2 or 3 yards, how is that going to go? I mean, obviously we saw flashes in that bowl game with Nelson on there. You're still taking Mosey, who was a coveted receiver.
And you saw flashes from him throughout the year.
And turn him into a
he seems
receiver.
to be more dynamic with the ball in his hands, Mosey, whenever he is in space.
But is he a running back by trait, or are we taking an athlete teaching him to play running back?
And if you are teaching him to play running back, can he make strides in terms of being a running back, hitting the correct hole, the patience in the backfield? Do those things come along? Or is Nelson the guy that with another year under his belt? Is he the guy that takes those strides in terms of being dynamic in the open field?
Does year 4 click for Quentin Ives?
Yeah.
Or is he going to be the situational back where the defense knows what play's coming just because you run him out there and you need 1 yard? The youngsters, Connor Booth coming back from injury, but we saw what he did at Wahoo. Is there a package where a true freshman like Jamal Rule can see a few plays? It's definitely interesting, and I think even more so too from the fact that you didn't go out and add anyone to that position room via the transfer portal. I don't know why. It's did they not find exactly what they were looking for, or does the coaching staff, do they like the continuity with the guys they have in there right now? I guess we will see.
So those are 3 places I have biggest questions. I think O-line, D-line, running back room. Any other thing you want to add before we get to Munson here in terms of things you're watching for?
I'm just happy that it's going to be a game, and I say this for, there's a lot of families that just don't get the season tickets who may travel in from Western Nebraska. because that's the game they can get to. And, you know, if you've got multiple kids, that is financially, it makes sense for them. And, you know, while there's not another team, but to get to see the Huskers on that field playing in an actual game, it's great for them. And then also you bringing in some of these new guys, and especially the youngsters too, where it's not just like football Olympics, but it's a game, and there's 80 some thousand in this fans. Let them get a lot of the nerves and stuff out of their system, marching out of that tunnel in front of all that red in I guess a practice game setting. So I'm glad to have it back.
Yeah, the financial element for folks who can't otherwise make it to a game is the huge
it
part.
is.
I mean, the
Yes.
first Hush game I ever went to was a spring game. It's I mean, growing up, that was what we went to every single year. But my dad eventually did get season tickets for a couple years through the Bo Pelini years, but spring game is what we made it to. That's what you got to see. That was what Husker football was to me as a youngster.
1982 Nebraska-Oklahoma game for me.
Well, it was your first ever game?
Yes. Yep.
My first ever game was, I think, 06 Nebraska-Texas Tech.
Okay.
Maybe
And that's
A&M.
where is that where Smith intercepted the ball and then fumbled it, and they got it back and kicked the game-winning field goal instead of just falling down?
That was my first ever game.
Lakeven Smith?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my first ever game. Yep.
Ouch.
Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for us for the first segment here. We're going to step aside. When we return, welcome in Brian Munson, HuskerOnline.com. Get some thoughts from him on spring football. Yeah, no, that was my welcome to Husker fandom. Close ball game, heartbreak at the end.
Oh, and we hadn't won. And that was after getting blasted 70-10 the year before.
Yep.
When I think the only score we had was a Mark LaFleur 95-yard jailbreak screen was the only touchdown we had.
I remember that one too. Because I was watching at my aunt's house, and that game was off at halftime. But no, that first the 06 game, I was 7 years old, dead center, got tickets for free from a family friend, dead center, North Stadium, about 20 rows up, right behind the goalposts. Like, couldn't have been more dead center.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what year I got married. Was it 06, 07?
6-7. I've been told that has been retired. That we're no longer allowed to do. We're old.
I'm not allowed to do that. Oh, there's nothing worse than when someone hits a free throw at PBA to bring the team up to 67 points. Oh, the kids standing on the chairs doing it.
What was the song you requested here, by the way?
Sly Fox, let's go all the way.
Ah, that's right. Okay, we get Brian in line here.
Welcome back into the morning hookup. I am Hugh Malone. Across from me, Elijah Herbal. Our next guest, and I think he knew that I'm subbing for Bill Hook even before you told him, Elijah, when you got to hear the Sly Fox. That's the new substitute I give him. We bring on the Husker Online, Brian Munson. Brian, you got your Sly Fox again this morning.
Brother, I think that's one of the coolest intros, honestly, ever, and a totally underrated song. Great video, if people can remember that. If you have epilepsy, you probably won't enjoy it. But it is a fantastic video. I really highly encourage people to go out on YouTube and check that one out.
It's Brian Munson with us here, HuskerOnline.com. Is Brian, spring football kicks off on Saturday, which just feels so shockingly early. Like,
it's so early.
Their winter conditioning was like 4 weeks, it feels like, and now you're already into spring football. But as we look ahead to things getting kicked off here, first and foremost, you actually have a spring game at the end of it, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The spring game was one of those things that was like, I don't even know how many weeks we talked about it last year. It was like, Rule backed off from doing it. Then all of a sudden, we're going to do something. There's going to be like, a competition. Then all of a sudden it was like, well, yeah, but then the kids that we're going to go ahead and leave are not going to have any film. So we got to get some film for them. And I think the one thing, and I've kind of tried to talk to this a little bit, in various articles, whether it was in 3 and Out or Tunnel Talk or on the message board, there was a big gap in the recruiting calendar for Nebraska last year. And a lot of that was because the spring game kind of went away. I mean, if you looked at how important the spring game was a year ago or the year before, it was like Dawson Merritt was there and Cortez Mills was there. And those were some fairly important pieces, to pulling together the class, the 2025 class. Yeah, 2025 class. So it definitely felt like, to me, when you looked at the guys that were on the board prior to the spring game versus the guys that were maybe remaining post the spring game, it didn't do Nebraska any favors, essentially, to ignore the opportunity to bring players in for the spring game. I know it's a glorified scrimmage. I, for one, when I was able to get back several more times, I mean, it's such a tremendous event. Typically the weather is fantastic. And it just is kind of this open, kind of go look around, search around. And I've always just heard amazing things from the recruits about that weekend. So I think that this is big that Nebraska is getting it back this year for the 2027 and the 2028s, obviously, to get there and have something to do at the end of the spring season.
Brian, I know that in a perfect world, every fan's all their questions would be answered in the spring game, and that they can sleep tight for about 5 more months until the fall season starts. Fortunately, that's just not the case. But you are able to maybe get a look at some things, not necessarily answers, but maybe some a peek, because that's how we are in Nebraska. We want to know everything what's going on. What are some things that we might, either whether it be the media or the fans, that we can look at that spring game just to kind of gauge and keep us satisfied a little bit, whether it be I think it's Chambliss, the linebacker from San Diego. If we are able to see how he moves with the flow of the play, obviously how mobile is Calandria. What are maybe some potential things that we can take away from being able to watch the spring game?
Well, I think you just hit on 2 of the big ones. I mean, I think Calandria is going to be, the big show for Nebraska fans to show up and see, what they have next year when it comes to starting quarterback. I think that's going to be a very interesting, change of pace, I think, for Nebraska fans to kind of see it. I think they've seen before where the deficiency, of not having a mobile guy has kind of plagued them the last couple of seasons with Dylan back there. And they're going to see, a polar opposite there. But I think they also want to see a guy that can manage the game, where he's at with the offense, the install, how he's kind of, gelling with the teammates. I mean, we've all heard the stories about, Dylan going to, whether it was Fort Worth to work with his quarterback trainer or going to Georgia to work with a quarterback trainer and traveling with, all those top transfer guys, so it's going to be interesting to kind of see where Anthony is at with that. I think Chambliss is another tremendous storyline for Nebraska in the early spring, because clearly, I think, Coach Ulrich is looking for somebody to be that playmaker at the second level. All eyes should be on Owen to kind of be that guy. And I think after that, one guy that I think kind of gets overlooked a little bit when you start talking about the bigger stars, on the defensive side of the football or just in the portal group anyway. I think one guy that gets overlooked is Dwayne McDougal at safety. I think he has got a very important role carved out for him to kind of be that quarterback at the third level for Nebraska. But I mean, to stay on the defensive side of the football, Nebraska fans want to see, how well, switching over to an even front is going to help maybe potentially against the run. They got gashed last year. They got hit a lot of times, and I think that just they weren't beefy enough. There weren't enough big bodies on the line of scrimmage, so they're making that change to an even 4-man front. There's a couple guys I think that obviously you have all the transfer guys that you're bringing in, and I think that that's going to be fun to watch them play, like Jashar Whittington. The other one's kind of blowing Owen Stoudemire, trying to figure out like where things are at with him. But I think also you're trying to go back and figure out like where things might be at, like with a Malcolm Simpson. How does a Van Poppel look at a 3 technique? Is Tyson Terry a full go? I mean, how is he looking? I think on the defensive side of the football, you're looking interior defensive line. Who are the names that are there? How are things looking? I love what you said about Chambliss. I think McDougal in the third layer for the defense is going to be critical. Calandre on offense. I think you also are looking at like the fact that you're not going to add anybody else additional to the running back room. So who is standing out at running back, and where are things at like with a guy like Jamal Rule? I think that's going to be a very good question to kind of ask people. And I think overall, how well is that offensive line coming together? You brought in a very experienced group of transfers like Brendan Black, one of the most experienced guys in the portal last year. And you brought in like Tree Babalade, and, you're bringing in like Paul Mubenga. You got some big bodies up front. How does that product look up front in front of Calandria? So I know it's a work in progress. A lot of those guys have only been in Lincoln for a couple, 3 short months. But I mean, you want to see some progress, and you want to kind of start envisioning what that final product may look like as we get closer to August and September.
It's interesting, Brian. We're here celebrating because you nailed the 3 talking points that we hit in first segment as well. We're like, okay, what are we looking at? Whenever the expert agrees with us, okay, yeah, we're on one today.
We get lucky once in a while.
Yeah. Brian, whenever you look at spring practice, one of the things that's really interesting, you talk about Husker basketball, the run that they're on. Husker baseball, they've got a great start to the season. Husker softball has been off to a hot start as well. It almost feels like for the first time in a while, spring practice is going to be on the back burner for Husker fans as they focus on other things. I mean, what effect do you think that has, if any, on spring practices in the football program?
Well, I don't know about back burner, but I definitely understand what you're trying to say. I mean, softball knocks off 2 number 1s. Baseball starts out with a 2-3 record. They made it competitive against Stanford, at least yesterday. The basketball team obviously is still riding very high. They're probably looking for a number 2 or number 3 seed as the conference tournament kind of comes in. I would mention that the women's basketball team also is doing very, very well. Very fun team to watch. I think they've hit some recent struggles here in conference play, but ultimately a very solid group. I think that Nebraska is known for football. I think that Nebraska fans identify the school and the athletic program, with the football team first. I think when you have these moments, however, where you have this type of success, with softball, baseball, the basketball teams, and it kind of goes together, I think it does take some pressure off of things a little bit, the scrutiny. Maybe the microscope is off a little bit. You back out a little bit. You're more macro than micro, and you're trying to take it all in. And I think that those are good things to have happen. I think that those are strong things to have happen for the Nebraska athletic department in general. I think some people would argue with me. I think some people then would talk about the glaring deficiency and the difference in where things are with like Fred Hoiberg and Matt Rule, with where things stand now, with battling almost for a team that's being chosen by some to end up in the national championship game. And I would tell you that it's a completely different ball game. I think that Matt Rule hasn't had, the best run of luck, so to speak, when it comes to his first three seasons there in Lincoln. And I think that he's ultimately trying different things. And I think that this situation here with bringing Calandria in is interesting to see what they can do, like with a mobile quarterback, and maybe come up with a better plan of how they're going to kind of attack things. But I think ultimately when you have more success across the board, it does help, I think, in general with like the overall passion of Nebraska athletics. And like I said, some people would say, I think it makes the sore spot stand out. Like which of these things is not like the other. But I think ultimately, when you're riding high across, other sports, I think all you can do is just pick up the one that's kind of lagging behind. And I think there's a lot of reasons for people to be optimistic about the group of players that they have coming in this week, for this season. And the transfers, I think, did hit in a lot of different areas. There's still some deficiencies there. I'm very interested to kind of hear and see how they're going to kind of get around things. And maybe like my biggest question kind of heading into the spring season is, how do you replace Mike Eckler on your coaching staff? Those are some really difficult questions that Nebraska football has to answer, but I think that they have a more talented group this year, than they did a year ago. I know that sounds crazy to say that you replaced a 5-star with a 3-star transfer with 1 year of eligibility, but I feel better about the fit. I just feel better about the fit when it comes to the offense, when it comes to the conference.
Well, Brian, I'm going to ask you about the fit because, obviously here in Nebraska, and I think every t-shirt shop here has a shirt that says run the darn ball. But you look at that receiver room, you lost Dane Key, who may, very talented, maybe didn't quite have the transfer year he wanted to, and you replace him with a very productive gentleman out of UCLA. Other than that, the room stays the same. You alluded to not bringing in another running back, which means, they're fine with what they have there. Is this something where maybe Dana gets to open it up to be a little more Dana-ish, if you will? Is it, and is this going to be a little bit more of a wide open offense that we see this year?
I think it would be. I think that's how things are kind of stacking up. I like, I don't think you can easily address, losing an All-American at running back. And I think Nebraska fans are correct to ask the question about, you decided not to do anything. I think we would all agree that there's talent in the room and you're bringing in another talented freshman running back, but just not having a bell cow there, it almost indicates to me that, to your point, I think that there's going to be more reasons to kind of go out there and, leverage some guys that have been in the system now for a year or two and see what you can get out of them, like Clark and Cortez and Smith. And, there's several guys that have been in the system now that have had very little to do basically with on the field performance wise, but they were all very talented recruits, at one point. And I think that you do bring in Quasi Gilmer. I think Nebraska was sick of facing him. He really tore him up a couple of years back. I think one guy that gets overshadowed here that I don't know how he kind of fits as a true freshman, but Larry Miles, he's going to be exciting to kind of watch. He's kind of a Ja'Cory Barney kind of player, and you want Barney to take another step forward. And I think everybody agrees that things are exciting when Barney touches the football. So yeah, I think that there could really be a way to kind of say, look, we're going to take the reins off. You don't have a quarterback there that doesn't have the mobility, that doesn't have the ability to kind of, take things as things kind of break down and roll with those breakdowns. I think Calandria does a great job of that. I think Calandria sees things happen in real time, and he's able to make real time adjustments and make something out of nothing. And I think that when we saw that typically happen with Dylan, and again, not to rag on Dylan, it just, there weren't those types of options that Calandria is going to have as far as the physical skills. So that could all lead up to Dana, cooking up some different things and how he's going to kind of go out there and game plan using a quarterback like Calandria and leveraging a little bit more veteran, seasoned group that's been, developing there at Nebraska now for a couple of seasons.
It's Brian Munson with us here, HuskerOnline.com. And Brian, before we get you out, last thought, just total shot in the dark, throw a dart at the dartboard and see if it sticks. Who do you think the incoming freshman that we'll be talking about come the spring game will be, from what we hear from coaching staff or maybe what we see during the game as well? If you could pick one freshman that we'll be talking about, who do you think it'll be?
There's a couple, three that kind of stand out. I think Jamal Rule's gonna have an opportunity there, obviously, to make an impact. I think that Luke Sorensen at tight end is an interesting dude. He's coming in a little bit more physically capable, but I think I would be hard pressed to say that Danny Odom is going to get outshined. I think Danny Odom has the possibility of really figuring into an early rotation in the defensive secondary. I think that they need to start making a path, clearing a path for him to get on the football field, because he's an incredibly talented guy. He's got great length and range. I would say Danny Odom is probably the odds-on favorite to be the guy that a lot of coaches are raving about this spring.
It's Brian Munson with us, HuskerOnline.com. Brian, appreciate your time here this morning. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and thanks for hopping on.
I enjoy the hooksy less environment today, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
I'll tell him you said
later.
There he is, Brian Munson, HuskerOnline.com. We'll step aside here. We have one final segment. We'll talk some Husker softball and some stories that we missed. That's all coming your way after this. So 6 minutes on the clock, talk Husker softball. I think the only story that we missed to hit maybe is what happens with the NBA draft.
How are we doing on the Olympics?
I'm only really following hockey. It's about the only big sport I'm following. I think
Not the downhill tumble.
If I remember correctly, there's been some disappointing in terms of like people getting bronze and silver whenever they're expecting gold, but Olympic medal count. Yeah, U.S. has 6 golds, 9 silvers, 5 bronzes.
What's our total medal count then?
20 medals.
Does that put us about third?
Yeah, Norway's got 30. Italy's got 24, which has been a great run for them hosting. And then the Netherlands has 13. France has 16. Where's Canada at? Canada's only got 12. It's interesting.
They're more cold weather than us. They should do well in like the caribou toss.
Can you name any of the 4 countries that only have 1 medal right now?
Zimbabwe?
No.
Russia?
No.
China?
No. They all have more than 1.
Japan?
Japan's got 19 actually.
Wow. Mexico?
No. Think South America though. One of them is South America.
Venezuela?
Mm-mm.
Brazil?
There it is. Brazil's got 1.
Well, they don't have a lot of winter type stuff down there in the Amazon.
They have a gold. What did they get a gold in?
How do you train for the Winter Olympics in the Amazon?
Skiing. This was Brazilian skier Lucas Pinheiro Braton got gold in alpine skiing. What the hell? Okay. Kazakhstan's got 1. And I just lost the other 2.
Turkey.
Georgia has got 1.
Okay.
The country. And then Belgium's got 1.
Oh, I love their waffles.
Love their chocolate.
I would do that too.
I've been USA hockey has been the main thing I've been following through the Olympics, and they've looked good. Canada's a freaking buzzsaw though on the men's side. The gold medal match on the women's side is between the U.S. and Canada. U.S. already beat them 5-1, and now they've reeled off 4 consecutive shutouts, which ties the longest streak in women's Olympic hockey history.
So we should get gold there.
They're minus like,
and that counts.
Favorites.
Even though everyone on the team gets 1, it counts as 1 medal.
Yeah. No, but I'm looking forward to that. But then on the men's side, like it should be. I think we'll see. I think it should be USA v Canada if everything works out in the gold medal match.
Yeah, we smoked Finland, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. The Canadians though, with McKinnon, McCarr, Celebrini, McDavid,
Gretzky.
He's not, but
how
they are freaking stacked. They beat somebody 10-1 the other day. That Sunday, I think it was Sunday. They beat somebody 10-1.
Wonder what the spread was.
Not 9. Oh, I need to find a song.
Okay.
We're coming back here. One final time here on a Tuesday. It's the morning hookup. Elijah Herbal and Hugh Malone taking you through the show today. Fast forward to the end of the show. Are you going home, going back to bed?
It's hard. I've decided some errands I was going to run today anyway. I think it would behoove me to probably get a little bit of a rest if I have to go back in and on another 11, 12 hours. You know, I think it's the love I have for, doing this and you and Moxie, and that's always an easy. I'll pay for it later.
Those little 30 to 45-minute cat naps sometimes can just be like, it can be, it's like a shot of espresso.
It could be.
It gets you rocking. Sometimes it's all you need.
And
you see the Mythbusters test on this?
No.
They actually found that if you are like trying to just quickly sneak in something to get some work done, like I think it was a 15-minute nap they found was better than an hour-long nap. If I remember
Really?
correctly. Because
I'll take the hour.
Because once you get into rapid eye movement sleep.
Oh yeah, then it's
deep
harder
sleep,
to.
It's harder for you to actually bring energy back. Or if it's just
Sure.
a 15-20-minute nap, it actually gets you.
But that hour is like 4 15-minute naps.
But it's all back to back.
I know.
You get too
I
deep
know.
into sleep, and then it actually makes you more groggy whenever you come back to.
I think it's hard anyway. Just when you have your circadian rhythm and just trying to fall asleep during the day, and then having golden retrievers in the house. There's a lot of variables.
Fair. Quickly here, Husker softball, another win against a number 1 team. They took down Texas Tech on Sunday.
Yeah, it was kind of a. It was kind of all over the place for them. I mean, as a whole, obviously, when it comes to we talked about in the first segment with the baseball team, that these tournaments are very important from an RPI standpoint, because outside of like a UCLA, Oregon, Michigan, you're not going to get a lot of RPI recognition. So going out, defeated University of Texas and Texas Tech, who were both respectively number 1 at the times you beat them. Boy, we were up 1-0 on Tennessee too, and I was looking to get a little payback, because they obviously ended our season last year. Tennessee came back and I think rattled off 6 or 7 in a row and got us.
And that's just going to happen whenever you play. I mean, Nebraska has been playing the top teams in the country.
Yeah, they have, and they've shown that their ranking is appropriate. That we can beat the best ones and lose to the best ones.
Their schedule's a murderer's row, and it needs to be. Because you're going to get into Big Ten play, and there is not quality opposition for the most part in the Big Ten. You need to get those big-time opponents, get those litmus tests in early, get some I guess just some wins for your resume come postseason time now. And then you can spend all Big Ten season just going in. The goal would be beating up on lower opposition, building some confidence into a postseason run. But it's Women's College World Series expectations.
Oh, it was. I mean, yeah, the expectations were, I think,
changed.
higher for softball than they even were for baseball. Obviously,
absolutely.
with Jordy Ball coming back, Kusa coming back, the Twins coming back. You brought in transfer teammate from Oklahoma.
Core, you brought in Farrell at catcher. You brought in players. And then Jensen on the
Jensen, a true freshman. So and that right there is leading into the recruitment too. With just even bringing a homegrown player like Jordy back, that helps with the recruitment, because now you're starting to see who is her replacement going to be for the next few years once she's gone. And boy, I like it.
They're building. Again, for them, it comes down to make it through a super regional Women's College World Series. That's the expectation. That's what we have in mind. Obviously, a lot of legwork goes in before that, but that's the expectation for that team. Quickly here, before we get out, we got about 2 minutes left. Let's hit some stories that we missed.
The stories we miss. The Morning Hookup.
Hey, this is an interesting one, Theo, and it's not going to make the headlines right now because who the heck cares about the NBA draft at this point in time? Not only this point in the season, but also with how the NBA draft has changed. There's less like, oh, I got to watch that guy for a couple years in college. Now I get to see which team takes him. And with the one and done, there's less loyalty, and it's just a name you've learned a week before draft night is now going number one overall. So it feels a little different. With that in mind, and with the tanking that we're seeing year after year in the NBA, Adam Silver acknowledged that he is considering abolishing the draft altogether.
Well, and what do you do then? What's the substitute?
Just every guy immediately becomes a free agent. You can go and sign him.
Really? I think that wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't have time to think about that. You know, obviously, because you had the gentleman from Rutgers last year who didn't want to play for didn't want to play for specific teams and stuff like that. And, you know, I didn't mind it because, yes, you could tank. In the NFL, they go straight off of record. You know, that's how it is.
That'd be the other solution is you just get rid of the lottery.
See, and that's the part I like. Because even if you tank, there's still a chance that you don't get the number one pick. So it doesn't.
And it's supposed to keep teams from tanking because, hey, it comes down to the odds. But the reality is now you just get teams tanking for 4 or 5 years consecutively because
they didn't win.
They're not winning and they're not getting that game-changing pick. So it's actually making the tanking worse.
But then that falls on the ownership, though, too, because people aren't, buying tickets and filling the seats, and pretty soon you got to quit doing it.
Yeah, in a sport, though, with the lottery system, if you just go to a straight worst team that's number one overall pick, would it lead to less tanking because they do get that game-changing player? Maybe. I also think getting rid of the draft altogether is interesting because there is a salary cap in basketball. The worst teams that have more money to spend can go throw it at the younger guys.
Does that spill over into the NFL then if that happens?
Regardless, there needs to be some sort of change in the NBA. We'll see. That'll do it for us here on a Tuesday. We'll talk to you on a Wednesday, 9 o'clock with the Morning Hookup.